back at it again, and we've got one here with the great Larry Elder exposing some folks. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you're new. If you haven't joined the family, what are you waiting on? Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that bell button down below as well so you know when all these videos drop. But anyway, let's dive in.
Now, you remember when Ibram X. Kendi, formerly Ibram Rogers, was asked to define racism?
You talked about the importance of defining racism.
I remember this guy. Listen to his definition.
But I, unless I missed it, which is possible, I didn't hear your personal definition. Is there one that you would offer us? Like, how do you define racism?
Sure. So racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. Sure. A collection of racist policies that lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas. And anti-racism is pretty simple, using the same terms. Anti-racism is a collection of anti-racist policies leading to racial, anybody want to take a guess? Equity that are substantiated by anti-racist ideas.
Now, if that made sense to you, you have as many problems as this dude has. Now, he was asked what it means to be an anti-racist. And I'm still trying to get my arms around it. Maybe you can help me out here.
Well, in studying the history of people being racist, what we experience and see today isn't actually that different as to what's happened in history. In other words, people commonly say that I'm not racist when they say and do something that actually most people would consider to be racist. But to be anti-racist is first to acknowledge those times in which we make a mistake, in which we even being racist, but more importantly, to recognize the racial groups as equals, to seek to undermine and eliminate racial disparities and injustice and create equity and justice for all.
What? Re-rack that and let's play that again.
Well, in studying the history of people being racist.
In studying the history of people being racist. You know, people owning slaves, people refusing to let black people sit at lunch counters, people denying black people the right to vote, people that are applying literacy tests or grandfather clauses so they can't vote, people sticking dogs and water hoses on black civil rights workers, you know, things like that. In studying the history of racism, I find that
what we experience and see today isn't actually that different as to what's happened in history. In other words, people commonly say that I'm not racist when they say and do something that
call them out, Larry. Call them out.
Most people would consider to be racist.
So what people are doing today that people say is not racist is exactly the same thing that they've done in history, you know, by lynching blacks and putting crosses on their lawns. It's really quite the same thing. There's nothing that's any different. And notice this.
It's almost like when people try to yell and scream that we have slavery today. We're going through slavery today. And I'm like, wait, what? That's a slap in the face to the folks that actually went through it. That is a slap in the face. And it's the same thing with this situation when he says, oh, we're going through the same thing that they went through back in the day. That is a slap in the face to those folks who, like Larry said, had crosses put on their yard, were left dangling from trees, who had dogs sicked on them, the water hoses, who were harassed every time they left their home, even when they were at home, were harassed. That is a slap in the face to those people. Man, oh man, oh man. You know, I don't even, never mind. Let's just continue on. Because it's just an absolutely ridiculous statement he made.
This host doesn't say, can you give me an example?
But to be anti-racist is first to acknowledge those times in which we make a mistake, in which we even being racist.
Could you give me an example of what you mean about the times we, quote, make a mistake? Give me an example. Just give me some examples. She doesn't say a word. And notice how pensive she is. This is deep. This is not only deep, this is deep depth.
But more importantly, to recognize the racial groups as equals, to seek to undermine and eliminate racial disparities and injustice and create equity and justice for all.
In other words, as John Kerry once said,
in America, you have a right to be stupid.
Facts.
I have no idea what this man is saying. When I had my radio show, I invited Mr. Ibram X. Kendi, former Ibram Rogers, on my show to explain what anti-racism is and what systemic racism is. And not only did he refuse to come on my show, but he said in our Twitter exchange, I'm not coming on the show of people who have minstrel shows. So not only am I the black face of white supremacy, I also host, according to Ibram X. Kendi, a minstrel show. The reason he didn't come on my show is the same reason that Robert Kennedy, having been invited numerous times on William F. Buckley's old Firing Line show, never came on. When asked why Mr. Kennedy, former AG and former New York Senator, refused to come on Buckley's show, despite numerous invitations, William F. Buckley said, and I quote, "Why does the baloney avoid the grinder?" That brings us this TikToker who apparently is not real pleased with white people.
I call y'all white people for what I see y'all. Y'all are devils. Y'all are parasites. Y'all are mosquitoes.
Why do you refer to white people as devils so much and hate? So much hate and resentment for no reason. I was reading this question down here.
And when you look at a mosquito, you see that mosquitoes latch onto other life forms, drain the blood from that life form to get nutrients so it can power itself.
Now, would Mr. Kendi refer to him as a racist or as an anti-racist? Because he's being racist against white people, and white people frequently are racist because they say they're not racist, which means they are in fact racist. So would he categorize this gentleman to be a racist or a racist anti-racist or an anti-racist racist?
That's exactly what y'all are, because every single thing that y'all do is to drain the life out of everything. And when we look at the advent of y'all devils, since the moment y'all were created, y'all have caused destruction, chaos, and deception.
Since the advent of y'all devils. Please don't tell me this guy teaches sociology at UC Berkeley.
On our earth. When we welcome y'all in to our kingdoms.
When we welcome y'all in to our kingdoms. You mean when African chieftains sold blacks in slavery to European and Arab slavers?
Talk to him.
Most slaves remain.
Talk to him, Larry. Let him know. Let him know.
In Africa, having been captured in conquest between various warring African tribes. And there was a huge business of selling captured slaves to white European slavers and to Arab slavers. The slave trade could not have existed without the complicity of Africa, because these white Europeans did not have immunities to the various diseases that they would contract by going into the interior of Africa. And
we checked out a Thomas Sowell video touching on that, where anybody that went into anywhere beyond the coast of Africa, their lifespan, I think, well, how long was that? It was either like a year or 6 months. No, I want to say it was like a year or something. Maybe 6 months. For some reason, 6 months and a year keeps popping up in my head. But it was very, very short. Because they didn't have the immunity to the diseases that were there. So they would die soon after they, went into, the inland Africa.
Also, think about how inefficient it is to capture them one at a time. No, they were sold en masse to European and to Arab slavers by African chieftains, and the majority of these slaves remained in Africa. So when he says we invited y'all into our kingdom, exactly what is he talking about?
Our lands, as eternal people, what did y'all do? Y'all came in, y'all caused destruction, y'all caused altercations amongst us as a people and amongst our civilization. Therefore, we banished y'all, we exiled y'all from the kingdom. This is the true story of the Garden of Eden.
Man, he's smoking something good. No, I take that back. He's smoking something that's laced. Any of my smokers out there, 420 type, if y'all smoke, stay away from whatever he doing, okay? Either somebody laced, his smoke of choice, or somebody's doing something a bit harder than somebody doing something hardcore, okay? Man.
Like I said, he probably teaches sociology at UC Berkeley. Hope you...
My goodness. And, the crazy part about all of this is that, once again, had a white person hopped on video and said exactly what he said, just replaced black people for white people, right? Just replaced it, said exactly the same words. People will be marching and burning down buildings tomorrow. That's a fact. But yet he's allowed to say such foolishness. White people are like mosquitoes. They suck the life out of folks. They just attach to. All right. Black people are like mosquitoes. They latch on and just suck the life out of everything. Look at Chicago. Look at Memphis. If somebody were to say that, look at Detroit. If a white person said that, the world would be on fire. Figuratively and literally, because these BLM social justice warriors would be out here just terrorizing things. This is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Shout out to Larry Elder. Always a joy to check out one of his videos for sure. And yeah, I'm glad he exposed that gentleman there. Just absolutely insane. You had the guy in Memphis. I saw the video and didn't even realize what I was watching. Thankfully, it stopped before, what actually happened. We living in some wild times. Let a white person do that. And yeah, anyway, y'all get the message. The hypocrisy, I don't need to dive into that deeper. I'm just disappointed, disgusted with all of this mess, and hopefully, starting with midterms, we can get this thing corrected. And I know people are saying the red wave, but I forgot who I was watching. Who was I watching? Maybe Ben Shapiro? No. Anyway, I was watching someone, but I think it's important that, we don't get complacent, right? Because that's been the narrative. Red wave. Well, if we all get complacent and we don't encourage everyone around us to get out and vote and, do our part, that red wave won't come. It only happens if we make sure it happens, right? By getting out and voting the legal way, of course. And I've heard some people say, well, I'm not gonna get out and do anything, Well, that's a great way to make sure that it doesn't happen. And we continue to see stuff and folks that act like this. It's time to put it to an end. It's time to put that to an end. There's no reason people should be acting like that, saying things like that to anybody. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, blue, or purple, right? Come on. It's ridiculous. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you're new. If you like to donate to the channel, PayPal link is down below. Peace and love. I'm out.